Screen Slurps.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss everything that is good, bad, and savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
I'm Dash Gearhart, and the movie we are reviewing today is Judas and the Black Messiah, the 2021 film that you can currently watch on HBO Max.
But not forever. March 14th, it's going away. And you can catch it in theaters right now. You know, you and I always talk about how the theater system is going away. Bye-bye, kaput. But I actually saw online that this one you can go watch in a theater. It's kind of surprising.
That is great, especially if you are vaccinated. Go see the movie. If you're vaccinated and not putting anybody at risk, of course, I don't want to advocate for putting anybody in danger, but if you're vaccinated and you got your second dose, go see the movie Judas and the Black Messiah.
And if you're not vaccinated, go get a vaccine and put a mask on and then go into the theater and watch this movie.
Dude, what if there was bars open where we could go and then take vaccinated or vaccine shots, you know? You get like a Jägermeister. What if you could just go and be like, hey, I'll take a Pfizer vaccine shot, and then we take them, like
you and I will just go into a bar. We'll go up to the bartender. Excuse me, sir. Can I get 2 Fireball shots and a Pfizer, please? And one Pfizer.
That's how we talk. That's how we're like,
we talk like we're in 1930s England.
We talk like we're 40-something-year-olds or whatever this character is.
We just got out of a nursing home and excuse me, sir. Can I have one Pfizer and a couple shots of Fireball, please? Yeah, and we're also Jimmy Stewart.
Yes, and then they service a flight of Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson vaccines. Although I heard Johnson & Johnson's not that great.
You want the moon and a shot of Fireball? I'll get you a shot of Fireball and the moon.
And it's like,
oh, darn it.
We're for once, after going to a bar, we're actually healthier than when we came in. So that's the dream. That's the dream that I want to live in.
So that's the world we live in now. Anyways, back to the movie we were talking about.
I have other dreams, by the way, so you know. For your information. Oh man, dude. Speaking of side slurps, can I go ahead and say my side slurps first?
Oh, go for it, please.
Okay, this reminds me. I've been watching over and over. I've been watching The Disaster Artist, the movie about the making of The Room, the greatest bad movie ever, and I've just been getting so deep into Tommy Wiseau, intellectually, of course, and it's just, I find myself like quoting him when I wake up in the morning or about ready to go to bed, just to like make myself laugh. And it's been crazy. I've been reading the book again, The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero, and I forget who the co-author is, but it's so funny, man. I never like read a book and just consistently crack up laughing out loud to a book. It's that funny. It was given to me by a friend a few years ago, and yeah, I picked it back up, and it is so funny. If you haven't seen Disaster Artist, go watch it, and go watch The Room. Have you ever seen The Room, Adam?
I have, and you know that the Music Box Theater has such a great screening of that film that they do pretty frequently, actually, but you got to make sure you go see it when they do it at midnight, and make sure you bring a box of plastic spoons and make sure you're ready. Make sure you're ready to quote the film too. So if you haven't already seen it, be ready to watch it beforehand so you can quote it while you're watching it at midnight, ready to chuck those spoons out of the box at other people. So be sure to sit in the back row just so you can hit everyone with those spoons.
It's like a religious experience. It's such a communal thing to be at. I mean, for instance, our star that we're talking about today, Daniel Kaluuya, I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yes.
He said that he was brought to The Room, or he saw The Room in England one time, and he had never seen it before. And then all of a sudden he was feeling these plastic spoons hit him in the back of the head. So then he picked up the spoons off the floor and continued to throw them with everybody else at the screen. And he said he never had more fun at the cinema before.
It's true.
Watching The Room at a cult screening.
Absolutely
Most likely
true.
It was midnight screening. So go see it if you haven't. Again, go get your vaccinated shots. Go take some shots, vaccine shots. That is. Don't take more than what you needed. Get the 1 to 2, whatever is recommended.
It's not quite the same as alcoholism. These don't come in a shot glass. These go into your arm. They're the good kind of drug, but
Exactly. Do what the doctor tells you to do. Follow him or her, their instructions, and then go see The Room when it's safe. But other than that, I also been continuing reading about Eberron to prepare for an actual play D&D game that I'll be talking about later during Solo Plugs, D&D actual stream show on Twitch. And I've also been keeping up on Servant, which is a Apple TV Plus streaming service, which I have. Again, I get annoyed about all of the streaming services that are, but you know what? It's so much better than cable, I have to say.
And streaming services, it's just the future. We just got to deal with that now. It's the takeover at this point.
And it's not going to be more than cable. If you aren't paying for cable, then it will end up being just about as much as you would pay for cable, which is, to me, I'm like, okay, this is way better than cable. But Servant is a show that is ran by M. Night Shyamalan, so it's a creepy, spooky dooky show, and there's a new episode every Friday, at least the time of this recording, now towards the end of February in 2021, and it stars one of our favorite man actors,
Ron Weasley,
Grint, who played Ron Weasley in the Harry Potter series. He does not play anything like Ron Weasley in this. He's actually a comic relief, grumpy, young guy, bachelor, finance, mogul, drunk.
Your description just makes me want to watch the show.
He's always drinking in the show. Seriously, he is, because he's like the brother-in-law to the family of all the spooky dooky things that are happening. This couple whose the wife is Ron Weasley's sister, so he's always over there, and he's basically talking to his brother-in-law. Man, this shit's freaking crazy and scary. I know, right? Let's have a drink. Where's your wine? Where's your whiskey? He's always taking a drink, which is funny. It's really fun and refreshing to see him in something that he's so enjoyable to watch, and he's not Ron Weasley. So go watch Servant on the Apple TV Plus. I don't know why I slipped into a Southern accent. That happens sometimes. I don't know why.
Apple TV.
I'm from Ohio. I'm not from the South. Anyway, I've also been revisiting my favorite fantasy role-playing game from Japan. It's called Final Fantasy X, aka Final Fantasy X.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! Titus playing Blitzball on the capital Spira. Anyway, Final Fantasy X is a game that I used to play early adolescence, I would say. It's the reason why I ended up wanting to get a PlayStation 2. I used to read all these game magazines. You probably read them too, Adam, like Electronic Gaming Monthly, Tips and Tricks.
Yeah, I was big on Game Informer, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Game Informer I used to read too. Yeah. And Nintendo Power, of course. I used to read all these different kinds of video game magazines, and I remember seeing the screenshots and the images for Final Fantasy X. I was just like, oh my god, I fell in love with it. It just looks so good. And I never beat it though. I think I made it to the very end of it when I played it for a few years, and I was in high school, I think, when I stopped playing it, and then I don't know, life got in the way. I just did other things, and, I was involved in other stuff in high school, and I just didn't go back to it. I also remember around that time later, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic came out, and I was really obsessed with that, too. So that came out a few years later, so I got really into that, too. I did beat that, I think, twice. But anyway, Final Fantasy X, I have it on Nintendo Switch, and it is so good. It's in HD. Granted, some of the awkward, not voice acting, but it's more of like voice acting matching with like lost in translation body expressions, body language with Japan and stuff. They've since made that way better. This is the very first Final Fantasy that had full voice acting, so it was one should forgive them for that, and it's still incredible. It's still a great cinematic / video game experience, role-playing experience. I highly recommend it. It is sort of that arcane punk magic and tech and adventure, and it also is all in this sort of tropical, sort of Indonesian-esque world, which is really cool. Fantasy world, of course. It's all like around water and island based settings. And then one more thing on my list, I recently got back to watching Critical Role, which is live on Twitch every Thursday night. Right now, they came back from the pandemic not too long ago. Well, came back, and now they're doing it pandemic style, social just distancing, of course. And yeah, they're streaming again, and it's really cool to watch a live action Dungeons and Dragons actual play game. And Critical Role is, I think everybody can agree that it's the best of the best. It's at least the most supported, most fan base around it, and some great people there. Also, one of my friends works for Critical Role, which is really cool. So
nice.
Anyway, How have you been, buddy? What you been slurping?
I've been doing good. I actually went back to playing the video game Starbound recently, which I was a huge addict of the video game Starbound, this independent developed indie video game that was very much like the game Minecraft, or even more closer to the video game Terraria, which is basically a sandbox style 2D platformer game. So running around, building stuff, platformy style. But very much like Minecraft in the style where you run around, you find minerals and supplies and objects and things like that. And when I was playing it back in high school, that was the very beginning of the game. And so it was very much quest driven in the sense where there would be a main quest. You'd pick up the quest and kind of you'd be in a spaceship and you'd go down to a planet. You'd do one quest, you'd go back up and you'd turn it in, and then there'd be, maybe another quest, you'd go back down to another planet, do some more stuff, maybe finish another quest, et cetera, et cetera. And now that I've looked at the game again, I sort of gave up on it in high school after I played it for a long time, and that was so long ago now. I'm an old man at this point since high school.
You're not an old man.
It's been enough years, though. I mean, that was when I was probably 15 or 16 years old.
You were a boy then. You weren't even a man.
I was a young laddie.
You're a man.
I was a young laddie.
Boy, now you're a man.
A young laddie on the Oregon Trail. Boy, that was another game way back in the day.
My sister used to do that.
Anyways, so it's been some time, at least, 10 or 15 years or something. We'll say 10 years. But I went back to playing Starbound, and boy, they have really updated that game. And I love it when a video game company stays persistent with a video game and they don't lose their followers because they keep at that game and they keep just updating it. So claps to the company that's been working on Starbound, because after looking at the game now, they've really updated it a lot. They've added a lot of side quests. They've added more stuff. And it's one of those things where you can jump into the game now, and even if you don't pursue a main quest line, you can still just teleport down to a planet or something, and even without following a quest, you can just chop down a tree, build yourself a house. You can find a musical instrument in the wild and just be annoying with your friends. So I found a guitar at one point that when you click on the mouse, a pop-up screen comes up with a bunch of playable songs like The Entertainer, and you can just start playing that and run around while playing that. It serves absolutely no purpose, but it's just to be funny. And it's just stuff like that in the game that makes it replayable, just because it's like, at that point, it's almost like Goat Simulator, where the only reason a person would play Goat Simulator is just to do stupid things because you can. And at that point, when I'm playing Starbound and I'm finding musical instruments and running around, it serves absolutely no purpose to the game except to the point where I'm seeing my character that I made playing a guitar and jumping around in space. I'm watching the game thinking, this is just funny, but I'm entertained and I want to play it again just because I'm having fun and I like seeing my guy jump around with a guitar playing The Entertainer. So it's just funny. So I highly suggest it. I would suggest checking out the game Starbound. It's really funny. Other than that, I've still kept on watching season 1 of The Secret Life of the American Teenager. Again, a show I was addicted to watching when I was in high school, but I never did finish it, and I never even got that far because after I finished season 1, I think I might have gotten a little bit into season 2, but they really do top off a lot in season 1. I do remember that, and I do believe that for those who haven't seen The Secret Life of the American Teenager, the actress Shailene Woodley plays the main character, and she plays a girl who is pregnant in high school. Her character's 15 years old. She's a sophomore in high school, and she's pregnant. And the whole problem of season 1 is whether or not she's going to end up having this child and raising it herself, or if she's going to have this child and get it adopted or not. I'm at the point now in season 1 that she does decide, yes, I'm going to have this child and I'm going to raise it. But when you get to the end of season 1, I do remember that she does end up having the child. She does end up deciding to keep it. And at that point, you're thinking, well, she had this child and she's going to keep it. What now? And since this is well past the release of The Secret Life of the American Teenager, this is a show from 2008, I can already see that there's 5 or 6 seasons of this show. And being able to see ahead of the show's release, I'm thinking to myself, she already had a child. She's going to raise it herself. What else is the show going to be able to do? And I think when I was watching the show the first time, I'm thinking, what else is the show going to be able to amaze me with? Why should I even keep watching it? I kind of just gave up on it. I kind of just forfeited watching the show because I didn't want to try and keep on going when it's kind of like, she already had a child. What else can she amaze me with? And why?
I mean, can you imagine being 15 and having a kid?
I know, that's already amazing enough at the end of season 1. It's kind of like, what else can this show do at this point? She already had a child. She has to raise it. Why do I need to keep watching this? And I just kind of gave up on it. At this point, though, I'm going to keep going. I have a little bit more patience now that I'm older, and I'm going to keep on rocking the show and thinking, you know what? No, I'm going to keep watching this. I want to see what these show writers kept on doing with the show, because if the show can keep going for 5 or 6 seasons, they had to have put something in that show to keep people devoted. So I'm curious to see what that was. But the first time I tried watching the show, it's kind of like, okay, why am I watching this? But I'm seeing a lot more with the characters. I think before I also just lost faith in the characters, because watching a show like that before when I was younger, it's kind of like, these characters are dumb. This is stupid. And watching it now, I see a lot more depth with the characters. I can kind of see, no, this show is a real learning lesson for younger people. I can imagine watching this when you're younger, you can think, this is stupid. But watching the show with a more adult mindset, I'm thinking, no, this is a real learning lesson for someone, because from the adult's perspective in this show, they're trying to tell their children, listen, if you're going to try and raise a baby, you need to go get a job. And the kids in the show are like, why do I need a job? You're my dad. You have money. You can raise my baby. And it's like, no, if you're going to try and raise a baby, then you need to go pick up a job and you need to pay for that child. And they're like, but why?
I was so terrified of accidentally getting a lady pregnant when I was in high school. I was not in particular, but like just any. Right. I was like, I was so scared of being in that situation.
Yeah, it's like how the hell are you going to afford that? Yeah, it's like how are you going to pay for any of that?
I want my life, you know. I want like, you know, I knew if I would drop, and I would have like dropped everything and, you know, got a job and supported that kid, you know, and did the right thing. But if it was the right thing, as if that person would decide to have it and then keep it to raise. Right. Because also nothing against adoption. People who give adoptions, nothing wrong against that at all. Or people who decide not to have it. Nothing wrong with that at all either, in my opinion. But yeah, I was terrified of ending up in there, so I was like extra careful. And by that I mean I didn't do anything. I just kept it to myself. Anyway,
I mean,
that
and
was
that's
high school for me.
That's why I see much more intelligence in the show now than when I was younger. When I was younger, I think I was watching the show thinking, why do I need to hear about any of this? All of these points are really stupid. But now I'm seeing a lot more intelligence in the mindset of the characters, because thinking about these kids trying to raise a baby from a much more adult perspective now, it's like, no, this is very smart. Like, looking at the way the adults are talking to their kids about this is what those kids in high school need to hear, because the kids in high school are thinking, well, you're my dad and you have money, so you can pay for this baby, can't you? And of course the dads are like, no, if you're going to try and raise a baby, then you need to go get a job and you need to know what it's like to raise a kid.
There is some parents that do that. There are some parents that do adopt the kid, and then the mom or the dad becomes, they tell them that it's their brother or sister. And then later when they're like 18, they're like, actually your brother or your sister is your mom or your dad. I know I shouldn't even smirk at that. That happened actually in the end of the first season of the OC. One of the main characters, Ryan Atwood, thought he got an old girlfriend pregnant. And she wasn't old. She was also like 17, 18 or whatever. And he was also like 17, 18 too. And he thought that she was pregnant, but it turns out that she wasn't pregnant with his kid. But they led you on to believe that she had his kid for an entire season. He doesn't find out it's not the kid, not his kid that she had until the beginning of season 3. So she goes basically like, no, Ryan, go back to the rich people high school. This isn't your life. Go.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, and then I think she ends up saying, oh, well, I lost a baby or something. She lied or whatever. And then later he ends up seeing her like, hey, how's it going? How are you? And then she goes inside and her mom's there. And she's like, oh, you know, he looks like his dad every day. And it's like, is it Ryan's kid? Anyway, it turned out to not to be his kid. It was like just this bait and switch, like meant to freak the audience out. But anyway, that was also a scare for me. I was like, oh, no, Ryan, I don't want to end up being like that. Anyway, nothing against people who do end up being like that. That's got to be a tough situation situation.
Yeah.
And kudos to anybody who powers through that. I can't imagine that. And those people are super duper strong for powering through that and growing up very fast in their teen years. So
yeah,
hats off to all of you out there. And even if you make mistakes, hats off to all of you for powering through and dealing with really tough stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And dealing.
Remix. I'm just gonna say that's been what I've been up to.
Q. Well, speaking of going through tough stuff that we can't imagine what it's like to go through, that is basically all what our movie is about today, which is Judas and the Black Messiah. That's right. Judas and the Black Messiah is a movie we're reviewing today, and it is a 2021 American biographical drama film about the betrayal of Fred Hampton, played by Daniel Kaluuya, chairman of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party in late 1960s Chicago, at the hands of William O'Neill, played by Lakeith Stanfield, and FBI informant Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons, Dominique Fishback. Remember her from Project Power?
I do remember her from Project Power.
Yeah, it was great to see her again. Ashton Sanders, Darrell Britt Gibson, Lil Ray Howery, Algie Smith, and Martin Sheen also star. The film is directed and produced by Shaka King, who wrote the screenplay with Will Burson, based on a story by the pair and Kenny and Keith Lucas. A Fred Hampton biopic had been in the works for several years, with both of the Lucas brothers and Will Burson writing and shopping screenplays individually since 2014. Burson's version almost got made with F. Gary Gray directing, but when that fell through, King was hired to helm the project. The cast joined in 2019 with the blessings of Hampton's family, with filming taking place that fall in Ohio. Judas and the Black Messiah premiered at the 2021 Sundance Film Festival on February 1st, 2021, and was released in the United States by Warner Brothers on February 12th, simultaneously in theaters and digitally on HBO Max. The film was lauded by critics who praised King's direction with the performances and its timely themes. For his performance, Kaluuya was nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Golden Globes and Screen Actors Guild Awards. Why supporting? He's the lead.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Well, are they putting Lakeith Stanfield in as the lead actor, or?
I guess so. I mean, I saw both of them as like the two leads.
Yeah.
As you know, that's the title. That's Judas and the Black Messiah. Mm-hmm. And so again, this is COVID times. The time of this recording, time this movie came out. But just to mention, the budget was $26 million. The box office made $3.4 million, but it's doing really well on demand on HBO Max. Like Adam said, it's going to be going away soon, so make sure. And what's that date that's
March
going away?
March 14th, I believe it's going off of HBO Max.
That on HBO Max by March 14th. If not, you can go as safely as you can, go watch it in a movie theater. But just to kind of bring off the plot just a little bit before we talk about our opinions and facts about the movie, more facts, is just so you all know, if you haven't seen this before, spoiler alerts, here we go. But this is also based off of a true story. So, this is history. So just so you know, if you're not informed, in the late 1960s, 17-year-old petty criminal William Bill O'Neill is arrested in Chicago after attempting to hijack a car while posing as a federal officer. He is approached by FBI Special Agent Roy Mitchell, who offers to have O'Neill's charges dropped if he works undercover for the Bureau. O'Neill is assigned to infiltrate the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party and its leader, Fred Hampton. O'Neill begins to grow close to Hampton, who works to form alliances with rival gangs and militia groups while extending community outreach through his Black Panther Party Free Breakfast for Children program. Hampton's persuasive oratory skills, as I need more work with, eventually helped to form the multiracial Rainbow Coalition. Hampton also falls in love with Deborah Johnson, a fellow Black Panther Party member. O'Neill begins to relay intel to Mitchell, who in return compensates him with money. When a fugitive party member, George Sams, hides out at the local Black Panther Party office, O'Neill learns from Mitchell that Sams is an informant whose presence in the Black Panther Party offices allows the Bureau to obtain search warrants. So as the movie goes on, we start to see this progression, I should say, or development within O'Neill, who's playing the FBI informant, or who is the FBI informant in real life too. And he is you're starting to see the struggle with him. He
Right.
definitely looks out for himself in terms of like wanting to be compensated, not wanting to go for jail for his crimes. And he's actually growing a little close to Jesse Plemons as he, with his character Roy, he actually admits that he was almost sort of this mentor figure for him, which is interesting because I think the actor who played O'Neill is much older than Jesse Plemons, who's I think younger than us. He's not that old. Also married to Kirsten Dunst. And that was very interesting seeing him really see what the Black Panther Party stood for and what they were fighting for, and then to see all of it against his own existence, basically. And it was heartbreaking to see all of them in the Black Panther Party, including Fred Hampton, start to trust O'Neill, as there was times where they definitely did not, especially during that cart where they tested him to carjack the car.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, dude, you are in trouble.
That was rough.
And you got lucky. Holy crap. How did you luck out? Like if you told me to hotwire a car, Adam, I would have
gotten shot.
Rip the stuff off of the steering wheel, and I would probably blow the cart up accidentally.
I thought he was going to get shot that scene. I really did.
Yeah.
I thought that was just going to be the end.
Or he was
going
to shoot them or something. Like something.
I thought something was going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I was. But anyway, this movie is very intense. It's very, very important. I'm ashamed that I didn't know more about this. The only time I really dug into this story that took place here in Chicago was really around the time we watched Sacha Baron Cohen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in it. The trial of the Chicago 7.
Well, we didn't actually have an episode on the trial of Chicago 7.
You're right.
But
I just watched it.
But it's good that you watched it. I actually haven't dug into that yet, but it does look like
Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yeah,
that's what
it does look like a good movie to look into. I haven't had a chance to actually look into that yet, but I do know what you're talking about.
They talk about Fred Hampton in it too, in that, because it was around the same time. So that's good. Was taking place. But yeah, what was your experience watching this, Adam?
When I first started watching this, I was very eager to see this because knowing beforehand that this was about a true story, that already had me interested into watching this. And it was good when I first started watching this. I really want to point out that the first thing you see when you start this movie is not that the entire film is a documentary, so to speak, but it does specifically say when you start watching this movie that the film starts by saying it was inspired by true events. And I thought it was fascinating as I looked more into this movie after I watched it, that not everything in this movie is 100% true. I did find that interesting. Not everything is 100% accurate, and that doesn't mean that this movie is false by any means. I will make that very clear as well. A lot of the stuff in this movie is very, very accurate and very true, but there are some things that they do change a little bit, and I will dig into that a little bit deeper when Dash and I do get into the true facts and the things that we found through research. But I did find some things that were changed a little bit about the realism in this movie. But to go away from that for just a second, the realism that was in this movie, it's just incredibly crazy. As I was watching this, as I was seeing the things that I was picking up from this movie, it's just fascinating to me to see the beginning, what got Bill O'Neill's character into the Black Panthers. I was thinking, I didn't know anything about the history of this movie when I went into it. All I knew was it was based on real events. So I didn't know anything about this guy going undercover, anything like that. And to see what made Bill O'Neill go undercover with the Black Panthers, it really kind of blew my mind to think it's like, okay, this guy was trying to steal a car and he was trying to do it posing as an FBI agent. And what really stood out to me in all of that was when he was getting questioned by Roy Mitchell, and Roy Mitchell asked him, why didn't you have a gun or a knife and just steal the car like anyone else would? And Bill O'Neill, the character Bill O'Neill's response to that was that a badge is scarier than a gun. And sadly, my first thought after I heard him say that was, I would have said the same thing. If I was in his shoes, and I had to steal a car or something, not that I plan to steal anybody's car, by the way, but if I had to steal a car and I was plotting to do that, posing as a cop wouldn't have been a bad idea, because people would be afraid of cops. And to say that a badge is scarier than a gun, his reasoning behind that, I would have agreed with the man. I think it's a very reasonable response because people, especially in his shoes at the time, would have been incredibly scared of cops. And to see how they played that scene out, they were very scared of cops, especially the fact that he was saying he worked with the FBI. They were frightened. The man that he was robbing gave up his keys. It wasn't even a fight necessarily. All he had to do was just scare them with the fact that he worked for the FBI. They all went with it easily, and he took a man's keys.
Yeah, he said you just had to get a Humphrey Bogart hat and some kind of trench coat to wear and just act like you know what you're doing and have a believable badge with you.
And he said he did it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And it's
but obviously
unfortunate.
a way more punishable act than just a carjacking.
Exactly. They were going to give him 5 years for impersonating an agent.
And like what, 16 months or 18 months for just a carjacking? Yeah, like way less compared to impersonating an FBI agent.
Yeah. And then they were letting him off for going undercover. So they're kind of like, you either get the time or you go undercover and we'll just kind of let you go.
And you get money.
And you give him money
for it too.
But to jump ahead in the movie, though, what he got off for going undercover and also, spoiler, for causing so many Black Panthers to get gunned down, including Fred Hampton, he got $200 in a gas station business.
Yeah. That he ended up not taking, right? I don't know if it mentioned in the movie he didn't take it, but at least in the ending facts that were read off in text towards the end of the film is that he ended up staying an FBI informant for years. Yeah. And then when a documentary was made about everything that had happened, including Bill O'Neill, it was aired on PBS, and the night that it premiered, he committed suicide in real life.
That's right. Well, they made that, and it aired like 10 years after they recorded it with him, I believe. Yeah. So it's all very, very unfortunate. It's it's one of those things to think that he did all of this. He was undercover. He did all these things. And then the FBI, they were going to, pay him off. And, in the case of the movie, $200 in a gas station or whatever. The text at the end of the movie said, as he continued to be undercover, he made approximately what would be equivalent to approximately today's version of $200,000. Yeah. And then he gets interviewed for a show, and then about 10 years later they air it, and then the night of the airing, which was I believe on Christmas Day of 1990 or something like that, I think, he kills himself the day they air it. That it's just so unfortunate. But I can only imagine the day that they air it, anybody watching that would think it's this man's fault that all of these Black Panthers got killed. It would be a weight on him that he would probably feel so awful.
I mean, I know we're going to be jumping around, but since we're already kind of talking about what happens in the end in real life and in the movie, the film ends with archive footage of Hampton's speeches, his funeral procession, and an interview O'Neill gave in 1989. The title cards state that O'Neill continued to work as an informant with the BPP, the Black Panther Party, before committing suicide. A lawsuit was filed against the FBI in 1970, and 12 years later was settled for $1.85 million. Today, Fred Hampton Jr. and his mother serve as chairman and board member of the Black Panther Party, Cubs. Wow, what a tongue twister. I need to do that in some warm-ups. Anyway, so it is worth stating that, the FBI was sued, and it took 12 years before that lawsuit was settled for $1.85 million. So I guess he didn't take the gas station, right? Because it was sort of like so when Roy was meeting him, they always met later over steak at a restaurant or something. And he gave him the keys to a gas station and said there's a lot of like legal money and gas. And it was like, what, gas money to get there? And then he put it in his pocket, but then, he continued working for the FBI. So I guess he either sold it or he just owned it and had someone else run it or something.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I really don't know the answer to that, but let me jump back to the beginning of the film here. I know we're jumping around with the movie, but I want to take it back to the beginning after they talk about Bill O'Neill. Well, actually, a little bit before Bill O'Neill even gets arrested, they introduce J. Edgar Hoover's character, which is played by Martin Sheen. And this is another thing. This is literal history, what I'm about to say. But J. Edgar Hoover was a real man. I never quite wrapped my head around the horrible history of J. Edgar Hoover's character, and I should be watching the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio playing J. Edgar Hoover just so I can compare the two. But Martin Sheen playing J. Edgar Hoover was a great portrayal of how Hoover probably was in real life. But what a racist prick to open the film with. Mm-hmm. And I don't say that loosely. I literally mean, like, what a jerk, because the man opens up by clearly stating that the Black Panther movement is, and I do quote the film when I say he called the Black Panther movement the single greatest threat to the FBI. Now, come on, man. You're calling the Black Panthers the single greatest threat? Like, not the country of, you know, I know it's, you know, the Bush administration when we're saying that Iraq was the greatest threat to the country or something when we had 9/11 and all of that. That's our time. That's the time that I'm living in right now. Mm-hmm. This was prior to that. This is the 1960s. But, you know, what other countries out there that may be planning to bomb the United States, or, you know, there might be shops getting, you know, shoplifted and things like that. Yeah, and
worse. He said it was worse than the KKK, worse than China, worse than Russia, worse than the Nazis. I think. I don't know. But it's like,
and he's saying the Black Panthers are the single greatest threat. And why are they the single greatest threat? They're the single greatest threat because they're saying, like, we just want equality. And it's like, this is the single greatest threat. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? What?
Well, yeah, I mean, they want to feel superior. So how can they feel superior if they have equal rights? You know, because they're all little, tiny, insecure men on the inside, which then they project and then have to put other people down. That's exactly what it is. They wouldn't have their... You know, they'd have their feelings hurt, you know, because they have to acknowledge the people that don't look like them could be better than them than a lot of other stuff. You know what I mean?
And I got to say, another unfortunate feeling that I felt as a viewer of this film, sitting there watching this movie in the year right now, 2021, an unfortunate feeling I have. I'm watching this movie. This is a movie about the history that we have had, and there are still people that act like this now in 2021. Clearly, very clearly, they are acting like this all the time. And all I can say, stop acting like this. Stop being an asshole. Like, why are you doing this? Like, as I'm watching this, like, why would you see someone and act like this? But I digress.
I'm just guessing that's because they are insecure. They're insecure. And to sort of piggyback on that, I will note that a scene that I really enjoyed watching was when Fred Hampton and other Black Panther Party members went to this, what was it? It was almost like a Confederate Southern gathering.
Oh, that was fantastic. Flag the turnaround on that was wonderful.
I mean, there's so many. The title of this movie is perfect because yes, he does act very similarly to the Messiah and Judas. The way he ends up killing himself in the end, just like Judas did in the Bible, and after the betrayal, and he is able to find common ground with those who hang up the Confederate flag. He's able to find basic human needs and make them all feel connected, which was just powerful. I mean, whoa, dude, if you weren't killed, like, you could have been president, Fred Hampton.
Right.
And he was only 20 something. I mean, at the time he was probably like 19, 20, but like he died when he was 21 years old. He was that influential, that charismatic, that powerful, that much of he united people, and what became the multiracial Rainbow Coalition, which included, you know, white people, indigenous people, black people, and he was uniting them for a single cause against oppression. And that was just like inspiring and invigorating, and wow, we really can all, I mean, that's the dream. We really all can come together and know that, hey, we're all just humans. This man knew that. And it wasn't against skin versus skin. It was about the oppressed versus the oppressor. And it was amazing. I love that scene.
Exactly. And I mean, that's why people listen to his character. When I first saw his character introduced in the movie, I was thinking, okay, this is just another character in the movie. It's just another, average Joe in the movie. What is going to make this character stand out from, the Bill O'Neill character in this movie? What makes this character any different as he's talking? And it didn't take much longer in the movie to really make his character stand out, because his character, Fred Hampton, he's got confidence. He's got, the leadership traits. And as I see, he's, teaching a classroom of people about politics. He's saying, war is politics with bloodshed. Politics is war without bloodshed. And already when he made that quote in the movie, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I just learned something today. That's literally real life right now. War is politics with bloodshed. Politics is war without bloodshed. I'm going to remember that. That is a good quote. And that actually makes some real sense. Thank you, Fred Hampton. I literally learned something. So it's just that kind of character that I'm thinking, this man was very smart for his time. And like you were just saying,
so young.
Like you were just saying, Dash, it's literally all of those traits that why would anyone have hated this man? And why would anyone have any sort of racial distaste against him, no matter if you were white or black or Hispanic or anything? Why would you have anything against this man? He's only got best interest for you. And you could see that in the movie when he went to the gang, the Crowns, when he went to the Patriots, he went to another gang as well. I'm trying to see, the Lords. He went to the gang, the Lords. All of these gangs, he was just trying to unite them to fight who were referred to as the pigs, the police, essentially, who were only out to fight, essentially, not only the Black Panthers, but it was essentially just black people, really. That was, unfortunately, that was American history. Yeah, it was awful.
It became a war. Oh, just to piggyback on that, a lot of people think, and you're not at fault, it's just the system. I think Hispanic people are a race, but it's actually more of a cultural subscription like Jewish is. But yeah, folks, if you end up Googling Cameron Diaz and Zoe Saldana, you'll see both two Hispanic women. One's very white and very blonde. One's darker skin and dark hair. And I don't know, it opens people's minds up. Anyway, but with that, people get in their heads of like us versus them. They put labels like on this, not you, but like the system puts labels on people to divide people. And when you divide people, you eliminate power. Like Fred Hampton said, where there's people, there's power. That's where the power comes from. And when you divide people, the power is diluted. And he gathered people, which made him powerful. And boy, that scene where he was giving his speech at what he kept saying, he said way more than this, but one thing he kept chanting was, I am a revolutionary. And you see O'Neill standing up there as posing as one of the Black Panther Party members and guarding him. He ended up getting promoted to chief of security?
Yes, that is correct.
This guy who's an FBI informant, and he was chief of security to them. And then you see Jesse Plemons' character, Roy, standing there looking like, like a normal person, not an FBI person, and acting like he was there as a supporter. And because also, folks, just, this also, yes, it was Black Panther Party gathering, but it's also like included like white people and all different brown people.
Well, I think that started after they got the Patriots inclusion. It really opened up to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It opened up to everybody, even though it was mostly the BPP, but it was more inclusive. And yeah, then you saw Roy just sort of like, just staring him down through that little scope that he was seeing through different people. And it was so creepy. And the thing is that as we were watching this, as I was watching this anyway, I noticed that there was a little bit of hesitation with Roy. I noticed that there was some regret, maybe, at least for a little bit. I'm not trying to vouch for him or defend him, but I noticed that he was because he said, I mean, he was totally backwards. Like, he was saying, like, well, I'm all for civil rights, but, you know, you can't cheat your way to equality, which right there, it's like, dude, one, that's already a bullshit statement. How can you cheat yourself to something that should already be a God-given right, which is equality and civil rights? You can't cheat your way. That is a given. You should always have that. If someone took that away, they cheated you. They robbed you of what should be yours. So right where it's like, no, that's not cheating to get civil rights. They shouldn't have to earn it any more than anybody else. But anyway, he seemed like he was trying to see, like, he wasn't like full on hateful racist, still racist, but not full on hateful racist like J. Edgar Hoover. And then when J. Edgar Hoover, you know, called him into the office and was talking to him and basically like almost threatening him by talking way too much about his kids and especially his infant daughter.
Scene. Yeah.
He's like, what are you going to do? J. Edgar Hoover was saying, what are you going to do when your daughter brings home a black person, a black male? And yeah, it was like he kept asking these really horrible questions. And basically it came down to is that he wanted to protect their way of life, which is similar to what the whole fucking Civil War was. You know, they were oh no, it's not about slavery, it's ruining our way of life. Well, your way of life dehumanizes people that should be treated like humans because they're humans, and has to do with slavery. And get off your ass and go do your own shit and don't make other people do it just because they have darker skin than you.
Yeah, with a statement like that, it's like, aren't we already past this? Like, shouldn't we have moved
it's like,
past
this is outdated.
Like 60 years ago?
Exactly. It's like, well, yeah. What was it, 1960s? So I guess like 100 years. Yeah. So it's just like, dude, what? But and as you said earlier, Adam, this shit's still going on today. This type of mentality still exists in our country, which is like so disheartening. And it's just like, yes, there's lots of good people here. But man, there's so many people here that only care about their own insecurity and putting other people down, and only care about their own needs. And they always think that like, well, you know, well, I suffer too. I didn't impress anybody. I'm like, yes, okay, we understand that you hurt and you went through stuff too. No one's saying that. By saying Black Lives Matter, it's not saying no one else matters. It's saying these people are in danger. They matter.
Right.
Why are you thinking about defending yourself? Less about defending yourself and more about serving. I think Fred Hampton was talking about this movie. He was like, you know, think about like serving someone else. Think about other people's needs, you know, too, or first, really. But I mean, yes, take care of yourself, love yourself too. But like, think about other people, you know, especially those who have it harder than you in a world that was unfortunately, especially in this country, not made for people of color. Right. It's really unfortunate. This American country was made through the domination, through genocide of indigenous people, through the slavery of black people, and continues to this day to treat other people who are different, whether it's skin color or religion, as if they're inhuman. And that's just like, isn't that what America should not be? And it's so, yeah, it's sad. It's so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah, we need to move past that. And
let's move past it.
Yeah, we need to get on to just better times. Yeah, I'm on your statement, DJ. We need to get into a better world.
But these are the feelings this movie. This is all credit to the movie.
Yeah,
you know, this all came from this powerful piece of cinema.
Yeah. No, I'm on your statement, and that's what I'm saying. We need to move past that realistically in our world. Yeah, it's just this movie. It's just such a real film with a real feeling that you get from watching this, and it's always amazing to see a film do that. Going back to my initial statement that this isn't a documentary, I understand that this isn't a documentary film necessarily. It does have a little bit of real footage at the very end around the credits sequence. It does show you some real clips, some real takes. But the film itself is inspired by true history, and it's just fascinating to see.
I actually do not have. I know you said I do, but I don't. Of what was real and what wasn't.
Well,
do you have research? I'm interested to know.
I do have.
I'm sure our listeners are interested.
I actually pulled some off of off of Screen Rant for anybody interested on looking this up as well. But I will share, Screen Rant does have a very interesting article about some facts that were true about the film and some stuff that was changed about the film. So I believe it's like 10 things that were true and changed from the film. That's like a combo kind of thing. So 5 things it gets right about the story and 5 things it changes. So starting from the top, the ice cream arrest was true, so that actually happened. Fred Hampton was arrested for the $71 worth of ice cream that he stole allegedly. That was a true thing that actually happened. They did change that O'Neill was driving Hampton. Bill O'Neill actually never drove Fred Hampton around, but he was hired and promoted to being his security authority, I believe. But he never did drive Fred Hampton around. It was true when they got the Young Patriots to join the Rainbow Coalition with them. That was a true fact. However, they changed for the movie the group called the Crowns. The Crowns were not actually a real gang in Chicago. It says they just wrote them in for the sake of having a gang for the film. It's true that Bill O'Neill pushed more violence for the Black Panthers. So that was actually one of the scenes that shows up much later in the film, but there's a scene where Bill O'Neill tries to get Fred Hampton to blow up City Hall with some C4s in the back of a car. That was actually also very true in real life. I'm not sure about the C4, things like that. I think it mentions the scene in the film, but it was true in real life that Bill O'Neill did try to get Fred Hampton to cause much more violence. It says that O'Neill's allegiance to the Black Panthers was changed for the film. In reality, when O'Neill spoke publicly on the matter, his allegiance with the Black Panthers, he showed no remorse for what he did. He also insisted that his role within the Black Panther Party was all part of his job as an informant, and he had no allegiance to them. So I find that very fascinating because the movie really makes it out that Bill O'Neill's character is kind of split 50-50 in that on one hand he cares about Fred Hampton, he cares about the Black Panthers, and then he goes back to Roy Mitchell and he's kind of like, get me out of this, man, I did my job. And Roy Mitchell's like, no, you got to go back in there and you got to get him. And then Bill O'Neill's like, come on, man, like I don't want to do this. And then he'll go in, he'll kind of do his job, and then they make Bill O'Neill look like he feels bad about it, but he's got to take care of himself. And then
it almost kind of reminded me of Black Klansman, the Spike Lee film, even though that wasn't as much of a, we were on the informant side, you know, when they infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan.
Right.
But at first, the main character, played by John David Washington, is sent into the Black Panther Party to then infiltrate and get information on them in Colorado. And then he starts to see where they're coming from and what they're fighting for. And then that ends up inspiring John David Washington's characters to then infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan instead.
Right.
Which is also based on true events as well. Yeah, I think if you haven't seen these, ladies and gents, I recommend watching this movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, Black Klansman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7, all within a weekend. I think they are all companion pieces in a way to each other, and I think they would go hand in hand with informing each other in a way.
Yeah. But again, I mean, it's just one of those things where, especially for the character Bill O'Neill within this movie, watching this movie and seeing his character in the film, he just really looked like he wasn't sure how to take all of this, especially seeing his character in the end where he gets offered the gas station and $200. He's kind of like, really? I just killed all these people. I mean, he doesn't say that, but you can see in the way his character acts, it's kind of like $200 in a gas station. Like, I just killed Fred Hampton, or he was the cause of Fred Hampton's death. And it's kind of like, this is what I'm getting from all of this. And to see everything he does and see how he's sort of doubtful from all of it, he's still doing everything as an informant, but through his actions, you can kind of see that he's very doubtful of what he's doing for all of this. But then to see in real life that in real life he had no attachment to all this. He admits that he had no attachment to any of this. Though. That's awful.
But he committed suicide though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously he felt something if he committed suicide the day that the documentary came out about his life, about him, involving him.
He must have felt bad about something.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he said, his actions speak louder.
He must have felt some form of guilt if he's going to
life.
Yeah, if he's going to commit suicide.
He didn't give testimony until that documentary.
Yeah, it's It's very unfortunate. It is incredibly unfortunate.
I have something to correct myself on. I'm dumb. I'm sorry, ladies and gents. I think I said that J. Edgar Hoover was president. He wasn't.
That's the other Hoover.
Yes, I apologize. I know. I looked it up. Like, why am I confused about that? I don't think he's president. Why did I say he was president? No, J. Edgar Hoover was not president. He was an American law enforcement administrator who served as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI of the United States. Yes, he served presidents like Calvin Coolidge, Hubert Hoover, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, J.F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, and Richard Nixon. So, correcting what I said earlier, I apologize. He was J. Edgar Hoover is not president. So, anyway, continue. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say there's a couple other ones which these are real quick. It's true that the raid happened at the end of the film, the very famous raid that killed Fred Hampton. They also mention in the film at the very end near the credits that in the raid, I believe it was 91 shots were fired by the police, 91 or 97. I think, yeah, just a ridiculous amount. 90. I'm going to stick to 91, but 90 and one shot was fired from the people that were actually in the house. And the people that survived all of those shots, I think there were 7, they were charged with murder attempts and put in prison.
Horrible. It's
so stupid that they were charged with that. And I hate living in America when I watch this movie.
I left watching this movie. I'm like, well, I'm really disgusted with the system, and I'm also ashamed that I haven't thought about this particular story or known of it, or it's my fault. I should have did more research on it, especially when I moved to Chicago. It's almost 8 years ago. I didn't know much about this, but I'm not happy this happened, but I'm happy that more films, like I said, like Black Klansman, Trial of the Chicago 7, Judas and the Black Messiah, are being made to tell these stories. That's how powerful cinema is,
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why we do this, ladies and gents, is yes, talk about silly movies too, and fun, goofy movies, and the first Dune movie, which is ridiculous and fun and hilarious in the room, but powerful movies that like really get us to look at the world around us in an important way, so change can happen. Hopefully real lasting change can happen.
I hope so.
Betters the lives of people, especially those who have been oppressed for so long.
And my only final point was that the ages were changed. I believe, Dash, you already spoke about this, but the ages that are in the movie, I think Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, which would be Fred Hampton and Bill O'Neill, they were 31 and 29 years old in the movie, and in real life, Fred Hampton and Bill O'Neill were 21 and 17.
Yeah, he was a kid. He was just a kid. Wait, so the characters were that? Because that is the age of the actors. Yes, Daniel Kaluuya is 31 years old, and Lakeith Stanfield is, in fact, 29 years old. If you look up his Wikipedia profile picture, it looks awesome. It looks like he has like these cool Vegeta shoulder pads from Dragon Ball Z. It looks cool. I'm just saying. Maybe he's an anime fan. And it's also worth to note, it's just a fun fact, both these guys were in Get Out, which is also a great movie.
That is good. I mean, Daniel Kaluuya is also really popular for Black Panther. Lakeith Stanfield is also very popular for Sorry to Bother You.
That's a movie I still need to see. I'd be totally down to review that sometime soon too. I definitely need to see that movie. And Daniel Kaluuya, I first saw him when he was in one of the very first Black Mirror episodes, and he was fantastic in it. He is British, and he was excellent in Get Out and in this, of course. But
and Jesse Plemons was also in Black Mirror in one of my favorite episodes.
Yes, two. Yes, one of my favorite. Yeah, the one that Daniel Kaluuya is in, and the one that Jesse Plemons is in is two of my favorite Black Mirror episodes. I love those. Yeah, Jesse Plemons was in the Star Trek-esque episode.
It's a good one.
He played the bad guy in that too. He plays a lot of bad guys. He plays a lot of remember him in Breaking Bad when he played Todd? He was just like this like silent, like seemingly nice psycho killer in it. And so he plays a lot of really strange, like, oh, this is a nice, average Joe. Oh wait, no, he's a psycho. I guess he just has that air tone. Hey, when you're good at something and you're people used to say when I was in acting school that, oh, you shouldn't. I don't know who said this. Nobody. I'm not gonna quote anybody in particular, but you shouldn't play your typecasting. You should just work outside your box and expand your range. Blah blah blah. But if Hollywood's like, hey, you're really good at playing the creepy guy. Want all of these creepy guy roles for $10 zillion? Like, once you take the creepy guy role, like, for $10 zillion, and then once you get, like, a few of those underneath your belt, then you're like, okay, I have $10 zillion. Now it's time to, expand and be a rhinoceros in my next film. I'm going to see how good I am at acting and being a rhinoceros. So, he is also married to Kirsten Dunst. Wait, no, I'm sorry. He's engaged to Kirsten Dunst as of 2017.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're not married, but yeah, they're engaged.
They're getting there.
No comment on it. I'm not criticizing them. Who cares?
No comment. Kirsten,
I don't
are you
mean
listening?
that to sound bad. I just like my tone kind of shifted, and it wasn't intentional. And I'm like, yeah, I had assumed they were married, and I shouldn't have assumed, and it just people can be married. Anyway, Adam, let's move on. I want to talk a little bit about critical response. Just to note, when we're talking about Daniel Kaluuya, his performance as Fred Hampton garnered a critical acclaim. Review agitator Rotten Tomatoes reports that 96% of 245 critics gave the film a positive review, with an average rating of 8.2 out of 10. The website's critics' consensus reads, an electrifying dramatization of historical events. Judas and the Black Messiah is a forceful condemnation of racial injustice and a major triumph for its director and stars. According to Metacritic, which assigned a weighted average score of 86 out of 100 based on 45 critics, the film received a universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on a A+ to F scale, while 87% of filmgoers at PostTrek gave it a positive score with an average 4.5 out of 5. And writing for Variety, Peter DeBrugge praised Stanfield's performance and said, the powerful film puts the current moment into fresh historical context and suggests that ambivalence can be its own form of betrayal. David Rooney of Hollywood Reporter wrote, led by sensational performances from Daniel Kaluuya as Hampton and Lakeith Stanfield as William O'Neill, the FBI informant who infiltrated his inner circle, this is a scalding account of oppression and revolution, coercion and betrayal, rendered by more shocking by the undismissed currency of its themes. And Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 3.5 out of 4 stars and called the film a leap and bound ahead of the recent Netflix production Trial of the Chicago 7, as I mentioned earlier, and called it brash, narrative, risky, full of life, and sneaky wit, even if the dominant tone is one of foreboding and brimming with terrific actors. So
nice.
There's some words from people in the film review critic community. So with that said, Adam, are you ready to move on to our slurps up, slurps down section?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, ladies and gents, if you're new to us, this is time where Adam and I give our final verdict on the film and also our final thoughts. We have a very binary scoring system. It's just slurps up or slurps down. Beep boop bop beep boop 0101110101, and it is basically slurps up means we like it and we recommend it, and slurps down means the opposite. We don't like it and we don't recommend it, and we usually give some colorful thoughts, some sentences in between there with our slurps up or slurps down verdict. So Adam, what is your final verdict, final words? What do you say about this? Slurps up or slurps down?
This film was a fantastic history lesson for me that I felt was definitely a necessity for me to watch. I wasn't sure about what it was going to really cover going into it. I had a very vague sort of idea, but not enough of an idea going into it. And I really felt very good coming out of it. I felt like I really learned something after seeing this film, and it was like a necessity after seeing this film that I learned something from viewing this. And it's just, I very much suggest seeing this film for people who haven't seen it yet. and I would definitely say watch it soon because it's going to be going off of HBO Max in the middle of March, and it is in theaters right now. So if you are vaccinated and, you know, wear a mask, you can go see it in the theaters if you're really feeling like it. But I think the points that this movie makes and the type of characters that it portrays, it is very much history right now. And it is part of American history. These are all things that are inspired by true events that have happened in real life. And to think that while watching the movie, to think that these things really happened, that police officers behaved in ways like this, and that other people that, you know, went around in events like this, actions and characteristics like this happened in real life, and that people can behave that ways that they do. It's just things to think about when you're watching scenes like this that really make you feel like, wow, I should probably not act like this, unless you're acting like Fred Hampton, which I will say Fred Hampton was acting like a wonderful man in this movie in every scene that they portrayed, to which I will say thank you, Fred Hampton, for doing the wonderful things you were doing, because all he did in this movie was care for kids and try to help make all of the city of Chicago and the entire country, for that matter, a better place for everyone. All he wanted to do was help people and help his community. And a lot of people that he spoke to, unfortunately, were not picking up on that and couldn't understand that. And when they couldn't understand that, he completely understood and would say, all right, we can talk again another time and I'll come back. And he just took it with ease and walked away. And it just made my heart light up to hear words like that in a movie and to think this was real life and a man like that could have a heart like that. That's just incredible. It's just amazing to think that there are people that can be so nice and understanding and then just get shot down. And then to think on the opposite side, there are people that can be complete assholes and continue to live and continue to put people down. Why does the world work like that? We'll keep wondering that every day. But if you're going to keep wondering that, watch this movie, learn something from it, learn from American history, see what has happened. I completely suggest this movie, and I give this movie a slurps up.
Very nice. Very well said, Mr. Meisner. So with this, with the recommendation of watching Judas and the Black Messiah, I will add to the list of recommended movies that one could watch during a weekend and really dive deep into this part of history, which, yeah, we have Black History Month, but it's not talked about enough. The injustices of what has happened in this country is not talked about it enough. And granted, these movies definitely do not cover everything, but they cover some big things for sure, especially in the past century. So yes, go watch Judas and the Black Messiah. Go watch Trial of the Chicago 7. Go watch Black Klansman. And also watch a film that we reviewed last year, which is a Spike Lee movie as well, called Defy Bloods. Go watch that as well. That is also on Netflix, as well as the Trial of the Chicago 7.
Great one.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I'll second that from over here. Great one.
Yeah, thank you. Very excellent movie. Also, I will say before I go on about talking about my final thoughts about Judas and the Black Messiah is that Ryan Coogler was a producer of this film, and Ryan Coogler, he directed Creed, which was the seventh film in the Rocky series, which is an excellent movie. I recommend that. It stars Michael B. Jordan and, of course, Sylvester Stallone, and he also directed Black Panther, which is also an amazing film. Go watch Black Panther too. It's an excellent film. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. And so Judas and the Black Messiah it's an extremely powerful film. There is a lot of religious parallels between the biblical story of Jesus and Judas, for sure. That's not what it's about, though. It's just that how relevant they are, and how a lot of things that the Black Messiah, how Fred Hampton was talking about, was socialism, which basically is what Jesus was talking about. It's like helping everybody. Hey, you go help the people near you and help each other out. Socialism, not communism, socialism. As what was it when we reviewed Gary Oldman's character, and Mank said, communism is when everybody shares the poverty. Socialism is where everybody shares the wealth. And Fred Hampton was looking out for kids that were being oppressed, and also that's how also one of the ways he connected to the Confederate flag waving people that he ended up bonding with eventually. And what guts that took for him to rise above the hurt that they must have all been feeling when they see the Confederate flag. I mean I'm not black, but I feel hurt whenever I see that. I hate it.
Agreed.
And he then pushed through that and found a way to connect with them, not cater to them, but connect with them. And one of the ways was how he sort of mentioned that, I'm sure your kids are getting this bullshit education system just like our kids are. You're being treated unfairly as well. And this is about fighting the oppressed. Sorry, this is about the oppressed fighting the oppressor, sticking it to the man, fighting the oppressor. It is inspirational. It's heartbreaking. It's devastating. It's inspirational. There's moments in there where I was definitely holding back tears, and especially during Fred Hampton's speeches. Daniel Kaluuya gives an incredibly powerful performance in this, and also to say the people who are not the heroes of the film, who played William O'Neill, Lakeith Stanfield, and Jesse Plemons, of course, playing Roy, the FBI agent, and also Martin Sheen playing J. Edgar Hoover. I'll say I'm giving kudos to those actors because we need those actors to play these people in these roles. They are putting their ego aside. I'm like, cool, I'm going to be in this movie. I'm going to do a damn good job of portraying this person in this film. And yes, in this film, people are probably going to hate me, sort of, because it's this character, but I'm doing this to illuminate this story. I'm giving these actors, that's fantastic, because they're the ultimate cause, the ultimate goal is to tell this story about Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers. So kudos to all the actors that performed in this. It was excellent to see Dominique Fishback in it, ever since we saw her back in Project Power with Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And yeah, it was, and you'll also see Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Trial of Chicago 7, by the way, if you watch that. But this film, Judas and the Black Messiah, is a full-on recommendation for me. I can't recommend it enough. Please watch it on HBO Max before it goes away. If not, then safely as you can, go see it in the theaters if you can, if you're not, at risk or making it, putting anybody else at risk. If not, buy it, and you will not regret it. Buy it on iTunes or Amazon, please. It is a very important film to watch. And do some more research and keep on learning about these stories so our world can change for the better. So my final verdict is a slurps up forever to the sky and high to the next multiverse. Slurps up from Dash Gerhardt. Slurps up forever.
Absolutely.
Into the future. Excelsior. Anyway, so that wraps up our review of Judas and the Black Messiah. Thanks, folks, for sticking around for that and listening to us talk about that. Really appreciate it. And if you have some thoughts about the movie, please leave some comments on social media. We'd love to hear what you think about it. Please engage in these conversations with us. Just because the episode ends does not mean we have to stop talking about it. That includes talking about other films as well we've done in the past, too. We'd love to hear from you.
E.T. Phone Home, baby.
E.T. Phone Home. So with that, it is time for solo plug time. That's right. That's when me and Adam talk about other stuff we're doing besides Screen Slurps. We love each other like brothers, brotherly love, bromance, but we do other things too because we have lives. So we're going to tell you, please, we're going to ask you, pretty please, to check out some stuff that we do besides Screen Slurps. So a solo plug for me. Dash Gerhardt is that I stream on Twitch. I have an upcoming Dungeons and Dragons actual play show called Journey Punks on Twitch. It'll launch sometime next month. At the time of this recording is February, so it'll be sometime in March is what we're aiming for. We say launching spring, but we're aiming for March. So stay tuned for an official launch date, soon to be announced. But in the meantime, you can follow Journey Punks, spelled Journey, second word punks, Punks, on Twitter and Instagram at Journey Punks. The tag's one word, so at Journey Punks, no spaces, whatever, at JourneyPunks, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Journey Punks. Mr. Adam, what do you have to solo plug, my friend?
I am on Twitter, Instagram, and SoundCloud at Adam Meisner. I'm also on Twitch at /A Meisner, and I put up music. I put up all kinds of music, originals, covers, you name it. You just let me know what you want to hear, and I will put it up online.
Since there's another Adam Meisner out there who's a karate man, could you cover... I don't know how culturally appropriate kung fu fighting is anymore, so I'm gonna.
I was gonna assume you were gonna request that.
I was like, I don't know how PC that song is anymore. So how about you cover September by Earth, Wind and Fire?
Oh, do you remember the 21st night of September? Love was changing our lives. Where else does it go from there? That's about as far as my can go. Yeah, until I get to the chorus. Something you remember, dancing in September.
For this episode of Screen Slips. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please be sure to like us, follow us on social media. We release new episodes every Monday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just about everywhere you can find podcasts on the internet. And be sure to follow us and subscribe to us on those platforms and on YouTube, because we put it on YouTube as well. And if you like our show, please give us a nice 5-star review in the Apple Podcast app. And please like and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And recommend us to everyone in your multiverse. It will help the show grow like a beanstalk to the sky. Woo! Closing out, this is Dash Gearhart.
And I'm Adam Meisner.
Slurps up, and we'll catch you later.